Hi, this is Shu with the review of the Harden Volume 8. This is a free design. I think this just blows my mind. I feel like they're actually doing good work. It's like there's a carryover, continuation, some consistency, some link between the adidas models that's being released for this season in terms of the basketball line. So I give them props for that. Interesting design. For a size 9, it weighs about 460 grams, but it feels a lot heavier than what the digits show. Maybe it's because of the way the foam is distributed all over the shoe instead of just being on nearby the midsole or the outsole. It fits true to size. Those with wide foot can easily wear the shoe without having to go up sizes. That means those with really narrow foot should go down half a size. It's very roomy overall. The traction, I think it's a bit of a problem for me. It's not bad, but it's unusual. It's got this very shallow herringbone around the shoe and this radial pattern, which is really good, which is what made Harden 7 have some really, wonderful traction. It's got a weird H pattern all around. I don't know how good this is, but it's not as good as the radial patterns. The Harden 7s actually had, strategically positioned circular patterns right here on the pivot point and on the heel, but this one, it's got it on the lateral side for some reason. So this actually makes the shoe a little bit more dangerous, because when you're kind of unintentionally just gently moving around, you might actually sprain your ankle because of that extra traction there. It's very low to the ground, so you don't have to worry about hurting yourself. But the outrigger, it's kind of round, so it does not provide that oomph breakage that you want from typical basketball shoes that provide good lateral inversion prevention gimmicks. So the boost is, they say it's called jet boost, but I can't really tell the difference between like ordinary boost. One thing for sure, this is thinner, lower to the ground, but it doesn't feel like, for instance, if you remember the old Harden, like the 3s or the 2s, the heel boost, you can see it's chunky and you can feel it on the forefoot. Even though you see it, you don't really feel it. But here, it's really thin, low to the ground, but you can feel the boost is there even on the forefoot. On the heel, in contrast, it's not as murky, sinky, pillowy as the old boost, but it's got more of a responsiveness. It's lower to the ground, but it's not, I feel like shock absorption, comfort-wise, the old boost was better. Bounciness, responsiveness, low profile being lower to the ground, the new jet boost and the thinner layer is definitely an improvement. But I wish they could find a bit of a balance. Something like the old boost on the heel and this new jet boost on the forefoot maybe. Do something about the thickness and the density that works for those different parts. It still feels like they didn't really work it out. Also, another thing is that they got this really huge concave hole here, so it's a bit excessive. You can actually have that suction cup effect even with my palm. Okay, yeah, it was working. Okay, it was working just now. Can you hear that? Kind of. So what's good about this is that if this was a pattern with the rubber attached, maybe it'll provide some extra space for the impact to spread. But because it's just exposed foam, the boost, it kind of sinks in a little bit excessively. For me, that's how I felt. And maybe people like that, but for basketball shoes, because your heel is always going to be compressed a lot more with your whole body weight pressing at it, and the forefoot is just a lot more spurts of compression. So the heel needs to have a bit of a difference from the forefoot. There's got to be a heel to toe drop. There's got to be an offset that you can feel. So this, I feel it's a bit weird. These whole chunky thing, if you worry about if this is gonna be uncomfortable or unflexible, they don't bother you at all. They actually try to help with the lockdown a little bit. But depending on the way you move and the way your foot is shaped, you might feel that this is not enough, or if this is a bit stuffy. Also, because of these sharp parts, and there's just a very thin foam, very thin, basically one piece of thin lycra-like fabric. So depending on how you move and how your ankle is shaped, if you lace them up and you move around, you might feel a bit of a chafing on these parts around your ankle. So make sure you lace them up and try and see if it's a good fit for you. If it doesn't, if it works with your movement and the shape of your foot. The heel is extremely heavy because look at all these layers. Look at all these layers. The funny thing is, even with all these layers, it does not provide a great lockdown. Also, this varies people to people depending on the shape of your foot, your heel. For me, I feel like there's all this chunk, but it does not lock down the heel as well as what's advertised on the outside. It's a bit excessive and is not effective. On the forefoot, these little foams, as you lace them up, you'll feel them tightening and locking down nicely, but you'll feel this is just really flimsy fabric. One flimsy fabric, and inside it's just, yeah, kind of these, yeah, even thinner material on the inside. So you'll feel your toes kind of wriggling around here a little bit. So if you're someone that prefers something solid that kind of wraps and locks your foot down, this is not the shoe for you. But do try them. See if these medial and lateral foams locking you up is enough to have you toes being liberated and feeling a little bit more roomy here. If that works for you, fine. But for me, I would rather have something that, you know, overall wraps my foot nicely. And also this is a stupid one-piece booty, so it's a little inconvenient, but it's not the kind of one-piece booty that cues you like certain models in the past, like the Curry 4s or other things that really wraps you up. The Trae Young 2s, I think that was crazy tight, but this, it's super loose. It's very loose, and you can just, as long as you hold these two parts, you can slide your foot in and take them off easily. But it's not as good as having a separate tongue. I like the tongue to be separate instead of one-piece booty because you can slide your foot in and you can adjust the shoe better. And also, if you kind of slide your foot in roughly quickly, you're gonna, like, you know, collapse the whole thing in. So that's pretty inconvenient. So I wish they would have not gone with this. What else have I not covered? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The cushioning, if you try the Rigor AR1, the Chinese model that's for Austin Reeves, they try to have some kind of foam. Think about the Chinese shoes that don't have really great foam cushioning. I think AR1 or the Jimmy Butler leaning shoes, they got all these foam, but you don't really feel them. So compared to them, you actually have low profile foam that you can feel on the forefoot and in the heel. The insole is pretty standard Adidas insole, EVA, better than the AE1s. The AE1s, I don't know why they had a starchy, really hard insole for some reason. So compared to the AE1, this has the old-fashioned traditional EVA Adidas insole, like the ones you've seen in the Trae Youngs. Yeah, this is pretty soft enough, but if you want to add something to it, have something more plush to it, that will definitely improve the cushioning overall. But if you like a shoe that's lower to the ground, you probably don't want to do that. Because it doesn't have any stupid plate right on top of the midsole, like the AE1s, it has a stupid square plate right on top and right below the trouble board, so it kind of negates the fact that you have the plush full-length cushioning in the AE1s. You need to get a thicker insole for AE1s, but this, you don't need it because you actually have the jet boost just, you know, all around your foot without any interference in between. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pricing, it's more expensive than the AE1s, so that's a little strange. I guess they still have to pay some money to Harden, although he's completely a washed up yesterday's play, a role player in the Clippers. Say what you may, but he's not scoring 50-point triple doubles anymore. Yeah, great design. I love where they're going, and they try to have the beautiful aesthetics and the functions from the Harden 7s carry over to the 8s, so that's something that deserves praise. But it's heavy unreasonably, and it feels heavier than what the numbers show if you scale them. And the traction on the edges, these are a bit concerning for me. And these lazy herringbone traction on the, you know, practically non-available traction on the edges, really old school, like Air Force One type of outsoles where you don't have nothing on the around the edges of the outsole. That's, for me, that's a bit of an issue. So If they go on discount, good to add to your collection. Among the Hardens that's really been released, one thing better than the 7. The 7 had this crazy blanket on the medial and lateral side, which made the shoe heat up like crazy. This is not a sauna like the Harden 7s.